Alrighty, welcome back. We've got the car back inside. We're working on it right at the present moment. As you can tell from this side, Aiden's on over this side starting to weld on the panels that we put on there. I stripped a little bit of the roof. We actually took the rust off the fenders where the holes were welded up on the car. I did a little bit of body work there, trying to straighten it out a little bit, clean the rust off where the holes were. These were the holes were welded up in the car. But right now, Aiden is welding this all up on this side. We'll go to the other side. He's got a piece of coat hanger there right now. Aiden is going to fit that coat hanger in this little groove here. We're not all the way down and get the fill cutter there yet, but we're going to fit that in there, and then he's going to weld that shut. We're going to go to the other side to show how he did it. And then, yeah, that's what we're going to show. So this side is welded up. Are you able to get around there? Oh, you can get around there, so here. This side is welded up. He put the coat hanger in this door here and welded this up. He welded all the panels on. Nothing is warped. He did a fantastic job. So now he's on the other side. He's just placing that coat hanger in there now. I come in and did the grinding last night. Did a little bit of fill work on the other side. Basically, I'm thinking that we're going to get this thing in primer. At least we're going to put it in primer. Just because we're going this far with it, we may as well go a little bit further. And I want to put it in primer because this side is, you know, they did a lot of work on this side. The hood's done. The fenders were dealt with before. Obviously, the project got left behind and someone abandoned it. We're going to continue on with it a little bit. If we want to come outside for a second, if you want to go on Facebook tonight, Jolene's going to show the video of us pulling this car up. We have a Jaguar down back that we got from Bernie, and it sat down back by that motorhome down there that I tore apart. That's way down back there. Basically, what's that? Kind of windy, but basically, we towed it up, and what I'm thinking is that I'm going to tear out the front suspension. There's Fina. We're going to tear out the front suspension, take out the engine. We're going to check it over to see what's available to use on that car in there. I'm not liking the front suspension on that car in there. We started it up on the video. That's going to be on Facebook. It turned over. It started. Hard to believe. All the wheels seem to be locked up. The front wheels are not locked up. Front wheels are not locked up, but the back wheels are locked up. We're going to end up pulling the front end out of that, pulling the engine out of that. If the engine's real good, you never know what might happen. It's another engine that we have, a Jaguar engine. We got the car fairly reasonable from Bernie. Come on in, Fiend Bane. We got the engine, yeah, quite reasonable, or the car from Bernie, quite reasonable. So basically, this is how Aiden's welding it up. He's just making a pattern. He's going along one stitch at a time, doing 6 inches, and he likes to do it with his hand. That way there he gets the same. And he just continues all the way around the whole thing until he gets it welded up. That way there we have no warpage, no big heat going on. You can see, if you want to come here, baby, you can see how he's placed the coat hanger in there. So now he's got meat in there to weld that, and he doesn't have to keep burning it and burning it and burning it to make it work. And basically what will happen is he'll just shove that in there when it comes time, weld that in there, and continue on. Good job, Aiden. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show, basically that side there is not bad. It's got a lot of primer on it. Someone did a bunch of work to it. On this side, this, to me, this is filler. This is filler. And I would say the white on top of the filler is the 2-part putty. That's what I'm saying. This side did not get primed, but there's a lot of work been done, but it did not get primed. These are all the holes that they welded shut. Did not get primed. What I'm going to say is some of it I would sandblast. You have to be careful on that when you're sandblasting things. We got the big diesel sandblaster out there. I would not want to come in and sandblast the door to try to get that rust off here. I don't think I want to do that. I'm scared of warping it. Where this has all the filler on it, I'm nervous of, not nervous, but it's easy to warp the side of a door if you're just sandblasting the side of a door. Something like this, where obviously it was put in a press, and it was pressed out, so the big press come down, hit a flat piece of metal, boom, and made this shape. And then this was applied to the car because we know it was welded here, and then it was leaded. Where the door is made, the door is a skin. You have the inside of the door, and then you have the outside, and then the skin of the door is applied to the inside construction. And that's just a flat piece of metal with not a whole lot of strength, like compared to this. There's a lot more stretch involved in doing this and then a door skin. There's quite a bit of stretch on this and this, yes there is, and I probably could sandblast it with being careful, but something like this, there's a roof skin applied to an inside construction. You can sandblast this part probably. You can sandblast this part where it's the roof connected to the construction, but you would never want to sandblast the roof skin. You'd end up warping it. That's why you don't sandblast hoods. If you start sandblasting hoods, you're going to end up causing yourself a problem. This hood is guide coated. I'm saying it's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show how I'm going to strip the roof and the rust off the car. Some of this, like inside here, that can be sandblasted. Don't get me wrong, when you pull the doors open, that inside construction with the bottom of the door, with the inside construction, that all can be sandblasted. Yes, it can. But what I'm saying, on the outside skin of something like that, you generally want to strip it with sandpaper or a stripper wheel, and I'm going to show that. On a fender, you can sandblast most anything. I'm saying you can if you're careful, but with a skin like this, like the roof skin or the door skin or something like that, you would never want to take that diesel blaster out there and start blasting the door and holding it on like that. You'd end up ruining that car, or you'd end up warping things, and you don't do that. So what I'm going to show is, if you're going to strip your car, if you want to take the paint off it, what you doing, Fiend Bean? You see something? See a mousey? Mousey in the housey? So this is the roof skin of the Jaguar that we cut out, that's got the sunroof in it. I want to strip this so when we put it in the back, all the rust is off it, all the paint's off it. This is an 8-inch orbital. They can call it a DA, whatever you want to call it, dual action sander, and the dual action is where it goes back and forth and around. You can see how it's whoa, that does that. Yeah, so what I do is I take the paint off with a sander, and then I like to use these little wheels, or little stripper wheels. I think when I first started buying these things, they were $10, and now they're $18, and it wasn't that long ago, but I guess it's supply and demand. And if you're stripping something, this is really good. And the reason I'll tell you why this is really good is because when I strip something, I'm not taking metal away. When you're taking metal away from something, I'll just use this little one here, put my glasses on, if I can find them. I think they're up front. Where did I see them bad boys? See them glasses, them bad boys? So when you're stripping your car, I would go with sandpaper and a stripper wheel. You do not want to take metal away from your car. You would never use a flapper wheel or anything like that. There they are right there. I'm going to grab a mask too because it's dusty. No, I'm not going to grab a mask. I'm going to use the glasses. I'm going to use the glasses because I'm going to use the wheel. So when I have a piece of rust like this, this is a hole that they've welded up and they ground it off. And I can also tell that they've ground more metal than just the hole. For me, I like to leave the weld more. I don't like to grind the metal that is going on the car, but it's preference, and it looks like they did a good job. It's just, what I'm saying is, I think they took more material away than probably was needed, but that's up to you if you want to grind away metal on your car. I generally like to leave the weld on and just feather it off. So I'm going to take and strip some off. And the reason I'm going to strip it off with this is because I do not want to take any more metal away from the car. If I take a flapper wheel to it, if I take anything to it, I'll probably end up taking more metal away. If I sandblast it, then I'm taking the chance of warping it. that's how I'm going to take the rust off the car. I'm going to do it like that because I'm not taking no more metal away. They've already taken enough away, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to take any more away, and I'm going to do it with the stripper wheel. That's how I'm going to do that. That is 2-part putty because I can smell it. I can smell it. On the roof, something like this, if you want to strip the roof, which I'm going to show you as I'm going to do it, I'm going to use sandpaper first, is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the glasses off, put a mask on for this one. I'm going to use sandpaper first, and then I'm going to go with the stripper wheel. Basically because I want to get the paint off. You can see as I strip the paint off, you can see all the spiders of the rust climbing everywhere, and it does not bother me. I just have to get it stripped down so it looks good. So we'll strip this part. There's going to be some noise, but how else do you know if I don't show you, or if someone doesn't know? Maybe a lot of people do know. I'm going to put some oil in this bad boy and get a mask. Some people do know, and some people don't know. I have fixed cars before where the customer would like to strip the car themselves, and stripped it with a flapper wheel, and it basically made me have to fill the whole car out because the flapper wheel gouged the metal wherever it was, wherever the flapper wheel dug in, it gouged it, so I had to fill the whole car. So it kind of, he was going forward, but in the end we went way backwards because we had to fill it out because we have gouged the metal, and you can't paint gouged metal. Aiden is checking the metal over that he's welding on there with his hands, so you know that it's cool, is it not? Cool as a cucumber? Just like Aiden, cool as a cucumber. Come on, come on. And you did a fantastic job. And the reason I say that, because nothing was warped, and everything was the way I wanted it. Just like this side, like everything's nice. Nice and right. Come in! Oh, sorry, Fina. There's just like that. That's how it works. I'm going to strip this with a DA. That's an 8-inch DA. You can do it with the 4-inch. You can do it with electricity, or you can do it with air. Does not matter. I like the 8-inch because it covers more area. I do body work with this, and I do stripping with it. Let's strip off a little bit of paint and see how it goes. So if you're going to strip your car, a 40 grit sandpaper, get some of the paint off, and then you can go an 80 grit sandpaper to smooth it off a little bit more and make it look real nice. Where this has the rust on it, I'm going to use the stripper wheel. So basically, if I was going to strip this, I would go 40 grit, get it down to where it looks like this, and then I would go 80 grit to make it smooth and finish it off. Where it has the rust on it, I want to go to that. Would not want to sandblast this because I probably wouldn't have a roof skin anymore. Yeah, I probably would ruin it. You can use paint stripper, like this furniture stripper on it. Doesn't have to be anything special other than paint stripper, furniture stripper, same thing. But you have to realize before you start, it's going down in there, it's going everywhere, and it's quite a mess. But sanding it off is a mess too. So. I like to only go so far with the 40 grit. I don't want to scratch the metal up too much. It does scratch the metal up, but as soon as you hit that 80 on it, it'll come right, it'll polish it back up again. Take a little bit off this edge. It's not bad for the 40 grit to take the paint off like that. I can see metal everywhere. I have a electric DA. This is what I would use when I was a young person. I would go around to people's houses and do body work. And this is how I would do it. I have an electric DA, and I didn't have to have an air compressor to strip the car down to fix anything. I'd use it for doing the fill work. I'd use it for just about everything. Does not cut out on power. They come with a polishing pad and this pad. I think I bought this pad to put on there, but they usually generally come with a polishing pad, and I bought this sanding padding one there because they work fantastic. This has an 80 grit on it. It's wore out. To get your pads off, I got a pad on there right now that's probably been on there for, I don't know, a couple weeks. To get them off, use a heat gun. Instead of leaving the glue on your pad, ruins your pad. Hope I have more 80 grit in there because I'm going to go get some and show you what I'm going to do next. Comes off, never left anything on there. Generally they'll rip and make a mess. Yo! I have some 80 grits here. These can get costly if you're not using them. They can get costly. It does cost a fair bit of money to strip a car down because if you're doing it right, using sandpaper, and it costs money. So we'll use the 80 grit. This is an electric DA. Turn it down a little bit. Just like sand and body fill, make sure you crisscross it. I find that sandpaper lasts longer the slower you go. Probably could go a little bit slower, but Also, generally when I'm doing body work with this thing, I'm holding it flat. When you're stripping a car, you're allowed to dig at it, you're allowed to move it, angle it, whatever you have to do to get the paint off. But basically, when you're doing body work, there's a difference. I generally use it like a block, I hold it flat. But when I'm stripping paint, I will do anything to get it off. You can see right here where I'm working it a little bit, angling it and stuff. You can see how clean it's getting. It's taking that rust off. There's still some left there. I'm just going to keep moving on, and I'll go to the stripper wheel after. Where the paint is left on there like that, it takes a long time for the 80 grit to get it off. That's why I like using the 40 first, buff through that, get to the metal, and then go with the 80. So basically what I'm showing you is how to strip the panels on your car. If you got the doors off, you've got the hood off, you've got the trunk lid off, you've got the fenders off, you'd want to strip it with a sandblaster. You know, that's where all the inside construction is, that's where the strength is. But to strip the panels of your car, so you're going to strip it down to repaint it or do whatever, you want to strip it with sandpaper and a stripping wheel. You do not want to sandblast your panels generally to get your car stripped down to bare metal. If all the panels off, then that's when you go to a sandblaster. I really like these because they do not give up on the power. The power is always there. Put that underneath there. We're going to change up. Going to the stripper wheel. You can get these, like they have two of them put together. They're nice because they're the same amount of money and more material. Let's go over and check on Aiden for a second just to see how things are going with him, just so you can see and you can see how it's going. And that's basically how you weld up something that you're trying not to warp, basically. He's going to get it stitched so it's probably that far apart or that far apart, and then he's going to start doing the 4 thing with the air hose. And the reason it does the 4 thing with the air hose is to make the welds look a little bit better. You can 1, 2, 3, 4, you can lay them in a little bit better. But to get it started and get welding it, we want to get it all so it does not move. And he's basically getting there, getting close to start wanting to do the 4s. And yesterday when he welded that all off, that looked really, really, really nice. All right, let's strip some paint off. Let's strip the rust off this bad boy and get ready, because this piece is going to have to go in. We probably will not put this piece in. I got to strip the other side of the roof and stuff yet, and I'd probably like to stand up inside there to do that. Also, like this here, like you can see over there where it's stripped on the roof, I did that with the sandpaper and the stripper wheel. Different projects, or different, what can I say, different projects, different process. If I was just stripping the car with no rust on it, I would use a 40 grit with an 80 grit and just sand all the paint off. That's what I would do with all the panels. The rest of it I would sandblast. If I have rust on it like I have on the roof, I'll try to take off the paint, whatever I can take off, and then I go to this stripper wheel, because the stripper wheel takes that rust off without removing the metal. Having the roof, I would not want to sandblast it because I'm afraid of warping it. So basically there's different processes for different applications, but yeah, that's what I'm using. I'm using sandpaper and a stripper wheel. And another hint. The faster you work, the faster it gets done. No heat, no warpy. And I must say again, the only reason I'm using this stripper wheel is because of the rust. If it was nice sheet metal underneath of it, it would just be a 40 grit, get to the metal, show a little bit of, still a little bit of paint on it, get to the metal, and then an 80 grit. But where we have rust, I'm saying that I have to use this. Making her work. Alrighty, we got that stripped down. After I got that down, and to make it look the nicest I can make it look, I would go back to my sander with an 80 grit, just to make it nice. You know, if you want to polish your car up, it can be left like that, and you can deal with it that way if you want to, you can. When the car is all stripped and said and done, where that, you know, where it had that rust on there, and we're peeling that off. When it comes time to cover it up, I would cover it up generally with my primer. And the primer that I use is a 2-part primer. It's a feather fill. It has a hardener that goes into it. And the reason I like to use that primer is because when I set it outdoors, if you go on the other side, this car has been setting outdoors for a long time, there's no rust coming through that primer. If you take epoxy or whatever and you prime that, or with epoxy or something you set outdoors, you will have rust come through it before you have the primer, before it comes through the primer. Also, I like to use the primer because you can sand it and it fills nice over top. The epoxy is gummy. It's generally for spraying it on something and then 15 minutes later coming over and painting over top of it without sanding it. It's not, the epoxy is not made to sand. So I would cover this up with my primer, but you do whatever you like. If you want to put epoxy and buy material for your car and epoxy the bare metal, you go for it. Go for it. But I'm just telling you that if I'm going to put something on this bare metal, it will be my feather fill, my primer that I use to paint the car with, because it hardens, I can sand it, I can fill over top, it fills really nice over top. I find that the epoxy is gummy and it's not the best to apply filler over top of. That's just my opinion, but you do as you please. Now I'm saying that stripped, ready for primer. If this is just a suggestion, and everything I say is a suggestion, because you do as you need and do as you please. I'm just showing my process. But what I'm going to say is, if you are stripping your car down, to be in bare metal and to have it look impressive. It happens all the time. If you're doing that to make it look good in bare metal and to leave it for a while, strip it all one way. If you know what I'm trying to say, strip it all one way. Be that kid that colors all one way. Don't be that kid that goes all different ways, you know, and all over the place. To the eye, it might be bare metal, and you might say, wow, like this to me is not impressive. That to me, that's cleaning the metal, grinding it, playing with it, whatever. That's basically getting it ready for filler or whatever. To me, if you're going to make something look really nice, you want to go all the same way. Like, basically, if I was going to try to make this car look nice and polished, I would take, we have a machine here. I have a machine here that has a wide one of these on. You get them from Eastlink, Eastwood, and they have a big wheel like this on them, and you can use them to strip cars and stuff like that. And you would go all the same way on your car to make it look good. To go and do different areas and different ways and stuff like that, it doesn't look impressive to me. But if you're going to take something and try to make it look impressive in bare metal, go all the same way. Just basically think about the kid that's coloring in the coloring lines and doing it that way. But that went fairly quick. That will get stripped off. I will cover this in the primer, no epoxy, and the reason I already said that, I find epoxy is not, it's very poopy to sand. I find epoxy is to cover something up and then 15 minutes later come in and paint it or prime it without sanding it. That's what I think it's 4. You do whatever you want because there's big discussions on that. I also feel that the primer, if you took it outside, you had a piece of metal that was in epoxy, you took a piece of metal with primer on it, put it outside, left it out in the rain and the weather, the primer would hold up longer than the primer that I use, I'm talking. The 2-part hardener would hold up longer than the epoxy would. Also, the primer has a hardener in it, so it dries really hard. It's also got polyester in it, basically the same thing what body fill and spot putty has in it. So when you sand it, the body fill or the polyester will stick to it just as nice as anything else, probably nicer than the bare metal. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to end up finish stripping this. I got to strip the roof, and basically I got to get my ass in gear and strip the rest of the car with one of those stripper wheels and get the rust off it. And that way there we can fill it, get a little primer on it, and make it look like something. Alrighty, what do you think? Let's give away a hat or a shirt. You got the computer? We're on air. We got the computer here today. We're going to give away a hat or a shirt. Hello, Fina. Let's go back over and take a look what Aiden's doing. So, if you're wondering how we weld up the cars, there's basically how we do it. Aiden's pretty well ready to go to 4s, I see, and that's how we do it. Just kind of everything is tacked in place. Anything can't take off now. It's in place. And wherever I put my hand, I don't even know where he's welded, but it's cool as a cucumber, and I'm happy, happy, happy. Starting to weld across the roof there, just one spot at a time, so it does not take off anywhere. We're not using any air or anything. Just one spot at a time. It's got it in his pattern, so when he comes up, he'll go doop boop boop and come along and finish it off. Got inside the door there going good with the coat hanger. He's not trying to build up a bunch of weld when he has material in there now. Fantastic. Got a little magnet there ready to hold his air when he starts blowing on it. You just continue on there for a second, and then we'll go with the air. I'll get you the air. So we're going to go down here to the old computer. We're going to give away a hat or a shirt. And feels good to strip a little bit of rusty metal because it looks some good when you strip her down. It looks some good. We're going to do it on the reveal, I guess, on that one. We got one less child to look after, and that's called a car. It's gone to a new home. It's a beautiful day here in Nova Scotia today, and I'm quite, what can I say? I am a little bit excited about bringing the other Jaguar up and having the engine run and thinking about all the suspension parts in it. I'm hoping that we can make something out of the two cars that we got going on right now. I want to see the car that we're doing right now. I want to see that thing drop down to the ground a little bit so that you can really get the full effect. Gonna open the door. Hello, Fina. The greatest dog in the land, Fina. And Fina stands for Finest in North America. That's what the service station stands for, Finest in North America. I'll try it again. Working hard as we can, people. Jolie's getting itchy feet to drive her Fiat. Ooh, look at that sun come out. No? Want to try it one more time? Do you want me to knock on it? What if I threw it down the rocks, it would help it? No. You have to answer that question before it works? Got some dirt on your phone? Had a lot of rain last night. That probably did it. Alrighty. No hat or shirt this time. We tried. Jolene has her Fiat sitting away there, a little yellow Fiat. She's been in there. She's getting excited. I think she wants to drive it for the summer. She wants to drive it, she said. But that's where she lies. Sorry about not giving away a hat or shirt. It's just the computer will not work. And basically that's what it was about today. It was kind of showing how strip paint off your car so you do not hurt anything. And you can put on whatever you want to after. You do as you need to do. I will put primer on that bare metal, and I explain the reason why. And have a good one, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming back.